welcome to Fancy Huddle here on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel. Week number 7 of the regular season, and we finally have the whole crew assembled again after we've all been taking different weeks off. Some of us working, some of us for pleasure, right? Some of us for just...
I've been working.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what was Shecky Green playing the Tropicana or something?
Well, I do enjoy my comedians on my vacations, but I've been working, okay?
Yes.
But I'm your host, Chris Goff. Our analysts each and every week, Dave, the Nature Boy Nielsen.
And
Dave,
every week,
you
I am here. Every week, I am here. So
that's just because you can't.
Every day.
He can't afford a vacation.
I'm not very reliable otherwise, but I am here.
He can't afford a vacation, so therefore he's always here.
I can't even afford an MRI, CAT scan on my wrist right now.
That is sad.
He's still paying for the medical.
It is pathetic.
Yeah.
He'd rather buy a new TV instead of getting an MRI on his broken arm, but that's fine. We all have priorities.
That's what you get for picking a fight with a big limb.
Yeah.
Yes, that happens.
And Seren Petro, our NFL insider. Seren, welcome back.
Good to be back. Thank you very much. Yeah.
It's great to have you.
Yeah. Super.
Not a lot of dynamite drop in there. Okay, let's go to the injuries for week number 7. Katie Falco here as always, usually. Well, just 1 week for that family reunion a couple weeks ago, Katie. But let's talk about the injuries going into week number 7, shall we?
All right, well, we'll start with Calvin Johnson. He's still trying to recover from that sprained ankle. He didn't practice on Wednesday. He is questionable for Sunday, but if it was my guess, I would say he's probably not going to play. And up next, AJ Green. He has been dealing with that toe injury on his right foot all season. He aggravated it last week at practice, and he didn't play last Sunday. He is questionable for this week, so just keep an eye on that one. And Jimmy Graham, he's expected to sit out 2 to 3 weeks because of an injury to his shoulder that occurred in week 5. And Victor Cruz tore his right patellar tendon and has been placed on injured reserve. Stephen Ridley also out for the season with a torn ACL and MCL that he suffered in week 6. Another guy out for the season. Noshawn Moreno also has a torn ACL that happened in last Sunday's loss to the Packers. And Steve Johnson on Monday, he took a knee to his hip and was limited in practice on Wednesday. He is questionable for Sunday. It could be a last-minute decision if he does play, so just keep an eye on this one as well. And finally, Eddie Royal has a rib injury from last Sunday's game. It's nothing too serious. He is listed as probable. Just make sure to double-check this on Sunday morning before you go to make your lineup. Guys, a lot of season-ending injuries this week. Not good.
And slightly big names as well. Let's talk about Calvin Johnson, and that hurts you in most of your leagues. You get him every year. Jimmy Graham, that usually hurts you too. You take him every year.
Yeah.
Me?
Yes.
No, I've never had Jimmy Graham in the
that's
league.
a lie. Victor Cruz, proud Time Warner Cable representative
that
on the commercials. Yes, that did hurt you.
Yes,
you're a little banged up there.
Yeah, I'm little. You kidding me?
Hey, you got Peyton Manning. That's your season. It's like me. I got Aaron Rodgers.
That's my team now is what it is. Yeah, my 4-2 team. How you doing, Dave?
Yeah.
You're 500 though, right?
500.
Oh, okay.
How are you, Chris?
I'm 4-2.
And Seren did beat me last week.
4-2.
So 4-2.
4-2 all the way around. 4-2 except for Dave.
That's all right.
That's cool. But you're here every week. That's good.
I'm here every week. Yeah.
Let's talk about the waiver wire watch for week number 7, Katie. I know you have a couple players you want us to keep an eye out for. Let's talk about those for a couple seconds.
Well, this week I'm going to talk about Jerick McKinnon and Mohamed Sanu. These are two guys that we've actually mentioned a lot throughout the year. First off, I'll start with Jerick McKinnon. Looking back 3 weeks ago, he had 18 carries for 135 yards. I know I'm talking about 3 weeks ago. He struggled the week after. This past week, he had 40 yards rushing. Doesn't sound great, but he also had over 40 yards receiving. This is a player I just really like. I think he's really versatile. He's very explosive. I just wouldn't give up on him yet. If no one else in your league's caught on, this is a guy that you definitely need to be picking up if he is out there. And Mohamed Sanu last week had 10 receptions, targeted 14 times, 120 yards, and a touchdown. Especially with AJ Green dealing with an injury, he will be targeted a lot more. But I do like Sanu, even when Green is healthy. I think he's a great option. He's found the end zone 2 weeks in a row. He has 3 touchdowns on the year. I just like this guy a lot. I don't know. I'm cheering for him. You know, him and Jerick McKinnon. Like I said, we've been talking about these two guys all season, I feel like.
Yeah, we talk about Sanu a lot, and you have the hardest segment of the show every week because waiver wires in week 7. I mean, I don't know if your leagues are like our leagues, but we go out there and there's kickers and defenses, and then and Matt Castle. That's the entire waiver wire for us. So good job, Katie. Thank you very much.
I'm trying. I mean, you guys aren't really holding me accountable, so I don't know how good my picks have been every week, but
we don't get to grade.
Yeah, I get to grade you.
And Katie just beats up on us. That's how that
We'll
works.
see if Sanu gets a check mark next week, or an X.
There we go.
Dave, let's go to your fraud or for real for week number 7. Who's looking bad for you now?
Well, look, I know last week he had a big week, T.Y. Hilton. I have him in the league. I've had him for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yes, he did look very great. But I'm going to say he's a fraud. I know how this happens. All the time, he'll show up, big game, T.Y. Hilton. 223 yards last week and a touchdown. And guess what? The next 3 weeks, nothing. Nothing. He won't do a thing. I guarantee it. T.Y. Hilton, big week last week. Next 3 weeks, nothing.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
For real, Ben Tate, 2 touchdowns last week.
You're on the Tater
I'm
wagon.
on the Tate wagon now, yep, with old Seren here. He's leading the charge, and I'm riding along with him there. Ben Tate, he's for real. Definitely. Big week last week for Cleveland. Had 100 yards 2 weeks ago as well. I like Ben Tate the rest of the way this season.
Okay, well, so taking the words right out of Seren's mouth.
Yes.
That's cool.
Is Katie going to do a review and go back to?
Absolutely. Hey, that's why he's here. I'm here to steal all Seren's
No, but he wants a video clip of you saying.
I want the video clip of me saying T.Y. Hilton's rated too high before the season when we were talking about wide receivers. And then the last decade that I've been pushing Ben Tate. I want that video clip.
It's coming to fruition.
Finally, I've been wrong 99 times. Now I'm right.
We'll do
Finally,
the best
as I
stuff.
take it, when I go ahead and say it, then it comes to fruition.
Okay.
I'm just early.
Yeah, you are. You're
ahead of your time.
Yeah, tarot
I like
card
that.
reader
I like
there.
that. Yeah, that's me.
Seren, fraud or for real for you? Who's a fraud this week?
Yeah, I'm going to start with Derek Carr. I mean, I know there's a lot of optimism in Raider land that this is going to be the guy, and he may be the guy long term. You throw 4 touchdowns in a game against the Chargers, people start to get pretty excited about you. And there's good reason long term in real football, but fantasy football, this is not the answer. So stay away from Derek Carr here. And for real, I'm going to go with Brandon LaFell. Look, somebody needs to emerge in New England as the go-to wideout. Tom Brady, we know he was getting beat up a little bit, particularly go back to that Monday night loss in Kansas City. LaFell is a real athlete that I think has ability. You get a quarterback that's on his game, you can get some numbers out of him. I think LaFell is going to emerge as that number 1 wide receiver for him to get the ball to.
Yeah, it was Edelman last year, but he has not worked out for fantasy owners this year as he did last year. So maybe it's going to be LaFell.
And the size-speed ratio that GMs hang their hat on is for real. He's 6'3". He's got all the tools, and I think it might be time for it to come together.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys. When we come back, we'll take a look at last week's top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. We'll take a look at all their sleeper picks from last week, too.
I don't even want to look
I gave your sleepers for you last week, Seren, so can I get a little bit of credit for
They were my
this?
sleepers.
Yes, you're watching FHuddle on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel.